PSI running high. Pool just got open for the season in Illinois. The pool was green. First time in 7.5 years of the pool life, it was ever green. The pool company who installed it also opens and closes. They did get the water blue before leaving using their own dolly pump, so my equipment was not used in this process. The pool was still cloudy. Once it turned off, you could see a gray, murky substance settle to the bottom of the deep end. When trying to vacuum, the pool would cloud immediately. After about 5 to 7 hours of the opening, the PSI was 25, which is unusual. I typically don't see the PSI go this high until we're 1 to 2 months in the season. The life expectancy of the filter was in question, so I did purchase a new set. When I removed the dirty filters, replaced them, they weren't as dirty as I thought they typically are when reaching 30 PSI, but there's some type of oil residue. Ran both sets of filters before turning the pool off. This was done within 3 days of the opening. After putting in the new filters 7 days later, they weren't the right brand and I didn't recognize the mistake. The PSI continues to go up. I cleaned out the basket, bled the line, switched some of the returns. Everything seemed to help, but the PSI continues spiking. Any thoughts on why the filters are clogging so quickly and why the pressure is going up so fast?
Yes. So there's a lot of different things going on here, and there's a lot of different questions to answer. I'll try to do this as quickly and easily as I can. If the pool was green when they opened the pool, that indicates an algae bloom. You shock the pool, you kill the algae, now it's this really fine dust powder of the dead algae running through your pool, which you vacuum it and it just stirs up and it runs right through the filter system, comes back into the pool, starts plugging up the filter. I get that. That makes all good sense. I'm assuming this is cartridge filter based on the description of replacing it with an off-brand filter. Obviously, to me, that means cartridge. Likely, there's one of two scenarios. The first scenario would be check your pressure gauge when the system is off. Because oftentimes what happens in the winter is a pressure gauge with any water residual left in the pressure gauge itself will freeze, and when it freezes, it stops. So in your case, if you were normally running at 15 pounds of pressure while you're during the season, you may shut your system off today and it might go down to 10 PSI, turn the system on, goes up to 25. And oftentimes what happens with an old pressure gauge, and you might want to just replace it just because, is sometimes water freezes inside. There's like a little aluminum channel that it's kind of curved and hollow, and the water pressure, as the water pressure pushes up there, that flexes that, which gets that gauge to move. Oftentimes, if that freezes in the winter with just a little bit of water in it, sometimes it flexes and it stays in one position. So check to see that it goes to zero, number one, but even if it doesn't go to zero, it's potentially just the pressure gauge and not the system at all. But number two, I would recommend, no matter what, using a water clarifier, a polymer coagulant, something that clumps all of that algae, dead algae, into clumps big enough that the filter can take out, remove easily. Because when you said you pulled your filters out and they didn't seem that dirty, well, on a microscopic level, they might be packed really tight. What you're normally used to seeing is dirt, which is a large particle, and it makes the filter look really dirty. You might very well have had really fine particles jammed tightly into that fabric of the filter itself. So polymer coagulant clumps it into a larger particle to be able to remove, and then once that's gone, you should be okay. I would mention that you said after 7 years is the first time ever. Every year is going to be different. You've been really fortunate 6 years in a row to not have a green pool at an opening, especially if you open it a little later than you normally would, and with the way the weather fluctuated from cold to warm to cold to warm, we've experienced an awful lot of dirty and very green pools when we've opened them this year, so that doesn't surprise me at all.